Hi there. I'm Dr. Chris Matthey. I'm the clinical director here at Authentic Counseling Associates, where we train great therapists and we give great therapy. I've been talking in a series of videos about what we call here the Big Five, those five levers that we have in our lives, that small changes in which can lead to large changes in our physical, emotional, and mental health. Today, I'm going to talk about diet. I'm going to share my screen. And so, as I said, diet is our topic, and we're going to learn ways of starting to shift our diet to make big changes in our physical, mental, and emotional health. We're going to talk about four things. Talk generally about what we know about food, what the research says, and try and get some feel for where can we start making these changes. Most of us have been on two or three or maybe 10 different diets. Where do we start to get a traction on making a big change in how we view and eat food? We're going to talk about tracking and goals, ways of getting towards our goals and maintaining that progress. And lastly, how do we stay motivated and continue to eat healthily? So let's talk about food basics. In multiple different ways, we are indeed what we eat. And one of the first shifts that I made when I lost my 70 pounds was to shift from I need to lose weight to I need to be more healthy. Because health accrues right now. If it is, I'm only going to feel good if I start losing weight, then that can be weeks, maybe even months away before we lose significant weight. Whereas if we start eating more healthy now, those health benefits accrue right now. So let's talk a bit about what we know from the research, what we know, not about any of the fad diets, but simply what we know. In general, the more plant-based food we eat, the healthier we are. Along those lines, the less processed food we eat, the healthier we are. In other words, the difference between getting something out of a box that has been processed in a factory and just eating an apple is immense in many different ways. Along those lines, the more fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, the healthier we are. For most Americans, their carbohydrate, the percentage of carbohydrates they eat are up above 60%, 60 to 80%. In general, this is not good for us. Getting our carbohydrates way down, not eliminate them. There are several diets out there that eliminate carbohydrates. Not eliminate them, but get them way down. I've gotten mine down to 20% or so. In general, most of us eat too many calories than what we eat. So in general, fewer calories per day is probably healthier. The most important thing to realize is that these health benefits in terms of blood levels, in terms of our energy level, in terms of our hormones, in terms of the neurotransmitters we produce in our brains, these benefits accrue immediately. So where do we start? If our goal is to change our relationship with food, not go out and get the next fad diet, but actually change our relationship with food so that after we start this and as we begin getting it a habit, this is how we're going to eat for the rest of our lives. So our intent here is to think in terms of making changes that lead us towards a habit that will last the rest of our lives. It's probably a really good idea to talk to a doctor or a nutritionist trying to identify the parts of your lives, the parts of your diet that have the most bang for your buck, that will have the biggest increases to your health. But in general, any sustained effort along the lines of the last slide of what we know will make a big difference in your health. As always, when we talk about the big five, start small, make it incremental. Don't try and do everything at once, and you don't have to become a vegan here. A good example is I used to be, I actually still am, a carnivore. I love meat. I have shifted from having multiple days of week of having a red meat to I shifted to fewer times a week. Then I shifted to once a week. I'm down to about once a quarter. Once a quarter I have red meat. And I've learned to eat many other things that satisfy me completely. If we add tracking and goals to the idea of making incremental changes, it helps us along that path towards changing how we actually think and feel about food. Consider using a tracking app. I use something called Lose It. There are many out there, literally hundreds of apps out there to help you track your food. Most of them will track both your food and your exercise and connect with your Fitbit or Fitbit-like device that you have. It's very difficult to change anything if you don't track it. One thing tracking does, it gets you mindful about what you are eating. In other words, you start noticing that you take perhaps large helpings, or you start noticing that you just sort of stop off at the refrigerator and get something when you're hungry at night. By tracking, if you commit to yourself simply to track, not necessarily even to do anything with the tracking data, but often I tell my clients, just start tracking. It's going to give you much more information. You're going to see and get much more mindful about how you eat and how much you eat. An important aspect of changing your relationship with food is notice the areas you are most challenged. For me, I'm most challenged at buffets. I'm most challenged when we have our family get-togethers. We're always having family get-togethers, and there's lots and lots of food there. And number three, about 9 o'clock at night, I get hungry. Those are, if I could solve those three things, if I could find ways of managing those three things, I could go a long way towards being healthier. And I did. I had a plan for buffets. I had a plan for when we had family get-togethers and had food all over the place. I have a plan for 9 o'clock at night when I get hungry. For me, it's basically a lot of chopped up vegetables and some hummus around, rather than having a couple of bowls of cereal. Huge calorie difference and huge health difference. Another way of going about changing this relationship you have with food is to give yourself reasonable daily goals. Break down longer term goals. If you wish to lose weight, break down that weight you lose into small increments so that you can make and see progress regularly. My son, who is a nutritionist, invited me to make a goal, a super goal, and a galaxy goal. My goal was to lose, I think the last time I actually decided I wished to get down a bit was to lose 20 pounds. My super goal was to lose 30 pounds. And my galaxy goal, to get down to a weight I was in high school and would be amazing, was 35 pounds. So doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to reach my galaxy goal, but it does give me something to shoot for, but it gives me easier ones to reach before I get there. And yes, I made my galaxy goal. My son and I used to teach a class, a regular class called Fit Club, where we would work out together and we'd sit together and discuss our challenges, and we would give regular homework. We talk about the zone, staying in the zone. The reality is it takes 3,000, 3,500 calories to make a pound weight gain. In other words, eating that much more above maintenance to make a pound. But many of us go into a great deal of shame and blame if we have 300 or 400 more calories in a day. We've blown it. What's the use? And we get out of this thing called the zone. Consider looking at the zone as a week-long thing. That if I mess up or I have a little too much in one day, I can still be in the zone. I can still consider myself healthy and make up a few of those calories in each of the next few days and do fine. Think in terms of being in a zone that is guilt-free. Another way of helping yourself is get a buddy. Doing this alone, we all know we can rationalize anything if it's just inside of us. But if you get someone who is perhaps losing weight with you or exercising or getting healthy with you, you're much more likely to stay with it. They don't even have to do it with you. My son is my accountability buddy for both my exercise and my food. I text him at the end of each day on what I've done for that day. His job is to simply be there and witness. He's not my policeman, but I don't want to lie to my son. So I stay accountable. Another very good way of going about getting healthy and also not doing this alone is to join a support group. There are many, many different groups out there. Exercise groups, but also food groups that will help you not be alone in this and help you be both accountable and supported. As we said in the slide before, if you track something, it's much, much more likely you will keep to it. And if you plan towards those challenging days, those challenging events, you can be much more successful at them. As we said before, if you establish goals, you are much more likely to maintain your motivation and breaking up those goals. Know your why. Now, many of us go about trying to get healthier because our critic part of ourselves is saying, you should be healthy, you should lose weight, you should stop smoking, you should. Notice the finger pointing at yourself. If you shift that to what's inspirational, why is it exciting to get healthy or to lose weight? I like the way my wife looks at me. I like getting to the top of stairs and not puffing. I like that my knees don't hurt when I've lost weight. In other words, what inspires you? What really motivates you? Finding your why is important. If it's just the part of you that kicks your butt all the time, it's very difficult to maintain motivation. Find out what parts of you are excited about this effort you're putting in. So, quick summary. If you make efforts towards the scientific food basics, any small efforts towards those that we mentioned in the first couple of slides, the beneficial effects start right now. As in all the big five, I encourage you to start small. Don't try and become a vegan or eliminate all that bad stuff that you eat all at once. Try and view this as a practice, something you're going to do every day, something that is changing your life, and you're going to maintain this for the rest of your life. And for those of us that have a lot of shame around this, that it's easy for us to to kick ourselves and complain about ourselves and, here we go again, I blew it again. Developing self-compassion, that either means developing a way of recognizing your own goodness and the good parts of you, or maybe even going to the therapist and seeking help on why it's so difficult to view yourself positively may help. I'm going to take us out of PowerPoint. I want to thank you for listening. Stay tuned for other how do I improve my life kind of videos from us. And I wish you a grand day.